My name is Kong Pheng Pha. I am an assistant professor of critical Hmong studies and women's gender and sexuality studies here at UW-EC. And the course we are talking about is Hmong 130, Hmong American Experiences in the U.S. The course Hmong 130, Hmong American Experiences in the U.S. is a course that introduces students to Hmong American experiences, histories, politics, literatures, and contemporary issues in the United States. And we begin in 1975, right, the period when Hmong were displaced from their homelands in Southeast Asia, and then they had to migrate to the United States. So we really begin there. And then we moved through the Hmong migration to refugee camps, and then ultimately to the United States, where Hmong now are living, and there are many, many Hmong communities all around the country. So we learn about issues like education, we learn issues like activism, racism, Hmong cultural transformations around gender. So all of these are topics that are relevant to Hmong communities now. One of the goals that I have is to teach students how to understand diverse experiences, and in this specific case, Hmong American experiences, to really understand where Hmong Americans and Hmong come from, to understand the different contributions that they have done and given back to American society, and then also to recognize ongoing challenges for Hmong youth and Hmong communities. So that's one outcome. Another outcome is for students to learn about their neighbors, right? There are many, many Hmong living in the Eau Claire area. And so that goal is to recognize that, hey, Hmong are actually your neighbors, practitioners who are working in universities or hospitals. And so to really recognize that Hmong people are also very diverse. And so how I am meeting these goals and these outcomes is to have students read first-hand accounts of Hmong American experiences, right? Like memoirs. One memoir that we read is the very famous memoir, Hmong memoir, Kaukalia Yang's The Late Homecomer. Another memoir that we read is by an author named Mai Ning Moa, who wrote a book called The Bride Price. So these first-hand accounts really are targeted to meet these outcomes. Another goal and another tactic to meet these outcomes is for students to participate in art projects, right? These are creative ways for students to put their learning into art form, to tell Hmong American stories, right? To tell Hmong American experiences in a way that could be accessible for other kinds of students who might not be enrolled in the class. So these are some of the ways that I am working to help students meet those outcomes. So we look at how Hmong people have been described or represented, right, as not fully belonging in this country. And we start out with the idea of when Hmong people first arrived, that not a lot of people knew who they were, right? There were a lot of racism against Hmong. And so we begin to try to understand how it is that Hmong people are seen as different, right, are seen as foreign or perpetually refugees. So the lesson really gives students these vocabularies, right, to talk about racial formation. And one activity that I plan to do is to present a theory around racial formation to the students. And I am having students map out where Hmong people might fit within this racial theory, right? And it is a very famous theory that was presented by different sociologists and political scientists around race. And so that will give students an opportunity to think about how Hmong people actually fit or don't fit into existing theories of race. So this is an activity that I do every semester with my students, and it enables them to understand how Hmong are seen as racialized from the very, very early beginning, and how they continue to be racialized in the contemporary moment. I want students to take a lot away. One primary takeaway, I would say, is for them to recognize that there are many, many different kinds of Hmong, right? The course looks at Hmong experiences from a host of angles around race, gender, sexuality. So there are many, many Hmong who are very different from one another. And so learning about Hmong American experiences enables students to see that there is a common thread, but at the same time, Hmong people are very unique and diverse, and that there are many challenges that are facing Hmong American communities right now. And for students to recognize and then to ultimately understand how they can help solve these problems, right? That Hmong people are continuously working and also actively engaging in activism around injustice, right? And for students to recognize and then ultimately participate, right, with Hmong Americans in these struggles so that we can actually pursue and make real our goal of diversity, right? Our goals of inclusion, to really take seriously Hmong people's experiences so that we can all participate in these goals together, is the ultimate takeaway